Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review. And in this indie comic review, I'll be covering Hitomi by Tack and Frank Miller's Pandora. I'll now get things ready and organized for the comic that I'll be beginning on first, to get its review out of the way, and we can move on to the next one as soon as possible. So as we jump head on, we move into Hitomi, issue 5. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape, or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough, it does, to which I give a 7.5 out of 10. As the character that we see here is actually this writer's interpretation of the character of Yasuke. Basically, the first African samurai that lived in Japan, and I really like that this story of Hitomi is exploring this. And let's move to seeing the internal art as we look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and some of the things that are occurring in the story. So as the story begins, we end up having Yasuke meeting up with one of the heads of state, being Ryu, to begin us off. As we jump a little bit further into the story, we now learn that an assassin has actually gotten past the guards. We do get a bit of a flashback in regards to some of the past, and we realize that Hitomi has been given like a hallucinogenic drug to try to sort of like spill information. We, of course, get to see some of the things that she sees in the hallucinogen, and we also get to see Yasuke make an appearance. As we start to move towards the end of the story, we learn that Yasuke has basically freed the assassin to take, who we know as Hitomi, to take him with her. I must say the internal art with this has actually been pretty consistent, to which I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story rating. And first things first, did we get anything covering in the area of time? No, we didn't. So let's move to the next thing that we did actually get. And of course, the location being Japan, we end up dropping into a castle and of course a prison. Or the castle, we got to see the prison. And one other part that I missed, or a path of sorts. The cast of characters consisting of Hitomi, Ryu, and also Yasuke. For the overall storytelling in this, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. This series is definitely worth the pickup, and I'm looking forward to when the first trade paperback for this comes out. It's now time to move into Pandora, into Frank Miller's Pandora. So as we return to Frank Miller's Pandora, first things first, does this cover in any way, shape, or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough, it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. So now it's time to move into the internal art of the story and some of the things that are happening story-wise. So as we start to jump into the beginning of the story, Annabeth has sort of like woken up from some of the events that happened, that occurred from before, and of course picking up a device which connects basically the underworld to her present world. And of course, along with that comes the goblins, or the demons of sorts. So she gets a bit of a following of these particular goblins, and eventually gets herself back home, and we get somewhat of a bit of a Gremlins type moment in the story. You'll soon see And here is our somewhat Gremlins type moment. The story advances, and she realizes she can no longer find where these goblins got to. So it looks like there might be some consequences of these actions of bringing these goblins home. For the internal art, again, it's been quite consistent, to which I give a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story, to which, first things first, did we get anything in the area of time? No, we didn't. Did we get any proper indication of where some of these events were taking place? Of course, the forest, where she was there earlier with her friend Knox, and of course her home. The cast of characters consisting of Annabeth, Knox, her grandpa, her mum, and of course, last but not least, the goblins. For the overall story rating for this issue, I give it a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.